So welcome and bracha, of course. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. And welcome, David, too. Let me go and see about sharing the screen here. And here we are. This is, I find this section so politically relevant, even though I'm not going to make this about politics itself, but I have to let those who wish to apply it, but so interesting. This is all about politics. Vayakumu, so we talked about Korach and how he got set off. Rashi brilliantly, according to the Talmud, right, told us the reason why Korach decided to mutiny against Moses. And of course, he made sure there were a lot of other people who were with him at the time. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this Torah T'mimah. We haven't done Torah T'mimah in a little bit, and there are a couple of Torah T'mimahs right at the very beginning that I think do a great job in expanding some of the and zeroing in on some of the issues that are going on here. Oopsie, what did I just do? Sorry. I don't know if you're seeing the whole thing. There we go. It's coming back.
Yeah, it took those words you added out of context.
I know, and then, oh gosh, here we are. All right, it does strange things. So, Vayikach Korach. Mahu Vayikach. So what is this Vayikach is such a strange word, right? Korach took. And we have Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish is an Amora, and that is a rabbi mentioned in the Gemara. And so after the 2nd century, and in Sanhedrin, he mentions he is going to be quoted quite a bit in terms of his comments about this. Interestingly enough, there's some interesting history about Reish Lakish. He was he and Rebbe Yochanan used to get into arguments constantly. Reish Lakish started, his name was Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. He started off as a bandit, and Rabbi Yochanan helped him do tshuva, and he actually was a brilliant Amora. I won't take too much time, but if you look him up and check out his biography, you'll find it quite interesting. At any rate, this is what Reish Lakish said. Shelakach. So he's trying to understand, what did he take, right? He took mekach ra la'atzmo. He took bad merchandise for himself.
From a former bandit.
Well, no. That's Korach. Yeah, right. Reish Lakish, exactly. Nice, Lauren. Okay. So here we go with Torah T'mimah's commentary on that. Diyek halashon vayikach. So he examines carefully this language of vayikach, he took. She'eino mechuvan kol kach. It doesn't fit so well lehemshech ha'inyan as the subject continues on. It doesn't seem to fit so well. Rak lelekicha beyad davar mamash. I mean, it really, when you say to take something, it means you're taking it with your hand, something that's tangible. That's lakach. Take something tangible. V'yoter haya na'ut, it would have made much more sense, much easier to understand. Kan here lichtov, to write vayakom, that he arose. Korach arose to challenge Moses. Or vayamod, or he stood. Uchedome, and similar kinds of verbs. Min halashonot hamorot, from language that connotes al hamachloket, that connotes dissension. Udarish, and so Reish Lakish expounds, Shelakach mekach ra la'atzmo, that he took bad merchandise for himself. V'yesh lomar, and even that, of course, requires some further understanding, and that's what I love about the Torah T'mimah, is that he doesn't hesitate to try and dig deeper when it isn't so clear. V'yesh lomar, and one might say, haKavanah, that the intention is al pi hamavuar ba'agadot, something that is clarified in Agadot, in Agadic material, Sha'aya Ashir. So this is something you may not have known, that Korach was extremely wealthy. V'hotzi al machloket zo, and to campaigns, political campaigns, he took out a lot of money for this campaign, on this recall campaign. Hirba harbe kesef, lots of money. Sheshiched et bnei chevrato, that he bribed his the people of his community, or his associates, vehechilam, vehishkam, and he gave them, look at nothing new under the sun, right? Big banquets, and gave a lot of money for it, right? It was just really bribed them. Hare kanalo, so he acquired, lo bekaspo, he acquired through his money, asek ra, a bad business. Shelo kederech ha'olam, this is not the way of the world. Shekonin bekesav harbe mekach tov. The idea is to make investments and get good merchandise with it. V'yein ba midrashim. And he says, check it out in the other midrashim that are written about this. So that was a little bit of a good piece of information to know. This tradition that Korach was extremely wealthy, and that Reish Lakish, and Lauren, I liked your insight there. Maybe it reflects his background. So sometimes a bad background can actually inform you of important information. So onwards, and this is going to sound a little familiar. Korach ben Yitzhar. Remember, we have all these names, right? Korach ben Yitzhar, let's see, ben Kahat, ben Levi, etc. So again, Amar Reish Lakish. This is again in the Sanhedrin passage that Reish Lakish is commenting on. Korach, he was called Korach, Shene'esa Korcha beYisrael. He made a boldness in Israel. He created a boldness. So Baruch Halevi Epstein is going to explain these better. Ben Yitzhar, son of Yitzhar, Ben Shehirtiach Alav Kol Ha'olam Ketzohorayim. There's the play on words. Yitzhar, Sohorayim. So he heated upon himself the entire world like noon, like midday. Again, these are all begging interpretations and explanations. Ben Kahat, son of Kahat. Ben Shehikha, there's the pun, right? Ben Shehikha, he weakened Shinei Molidav, the teeth of his forebears. Okay, so Ben Levi, son of Levi, Ben She'nesa Levaya Begehinom, a son where there was he was accompanied to Gehinnom, to Hades. All right, so there we are. Lots of stuff to think about here. So here we are. Lich ora, on the surface, heve kavanat ha'inyan, the intention of this particular subject, lidrosh hashemot, to drush out, to interpret out the names, lefi inyan haParsha, that fits the whole subject of this section. Kasher chen hu miderich, oh God, ha'agadot. There's a missing letter there, which is just as the agadata, right? This midrashic interpretation. This is the practice. This is something they do, and of course you've had the experience, right? Ukamoshe katav la'el, just as was written above, Rosh Perik Shlach, at the beginning of the previous parsha of Shlach Lecha b'Shemot HaMeraglim, regarding the names of the spies, right? So we take these names and we drush them out. But here we have all of them, right? Reish Lakish has given us the interpretation of their names. Aval lo nitba'er, but it's not so clear. But nevertheless, what was the need? What was the necessity to interpret for this particular interpretation? And it's possible to say, the kasher law, right, that Reish Lakish is dealing with a difficulty, mima shekatuv b'Megillah, which from a statement in the tractate Megillah on page 15a, kol shema'asav u'ma'aseh avotav stumim, anyone whose actions and the actions of his parents, his forebears, his fathers, stumim, meaning hidden up, that covered up, uprat lecha hakatuv be'echad mehem, and scripture designates, specifies for you one of them, lignai, that it was awful, that was for a bad reason. Biyadua, you can say shehu rasha ben rasha, that he is a wicked person, son of a wicked person, Yeuyan Sham. So I believe that what he's saying here is actually, he's not a wicked, these parents of Korach weren't wicked people, and yet we have this statement that wants to suggest it. So instead, what happens is that Reish Lakish provides an alternative explanation, and the reason why he gave these interpretations to say that these actually are all reflective of Korach and not on his forebears is because of that statement in Megillah. I think that is what the point is that Baruch Halevi Epstein is trying to make for us. Ulefiza, go ahead.
Rabbi?
Yes.
Did Korah think that God was going to talk to him like he talked to Moses? No. God says, I'm going to talk to Moses man to man. And the prophets, I'm going to talk to him in a dream. But Korah, he's not going to talk to Korah. I don't know why Korah wanted to be the big shot. That doesn't make sense.
I think his motivation was highly emotional. I think he was governed by his feelings of anger and jealousy, as Rashi points out, as we read yesterday. I don't think he was thinking theologically. Again, I don't think that's what he was interested in doing. Korach, I think you'll have to draw your own conclusions, but it would appear, and of course, this is not an unusual issue, that some people think of leadership as an opportunity to gain power and personal benefit. And because people are ambitious and are sometimes ambitious in a way that actually leads to their destruction. And they will do anything to satisfy that ambition. This is not an original story. This is unfortunately a tale oft told. So let me ask,
just out of curiosity, do you think this is the first time in recorded history that we wind up seeing, religion used as a basis for politics and grabbing power? I mean, is this like the first recorded instance of it?
That's a really good question, and I cannot really answer it. I don't know. I know that's what it's about here, and it's all, by the way, a riff. It's all a riff on Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel is like the wellspring for jealousy at someone else's success. And of course, Cain is jealous of Abel because God accepts Abel's offering and does not accept his offering. So without going into the reasons why right now, because I don't want to take up that time, so much of this kind of behavior of hatred, bigotry, etc., all can be sort of traced down to what the Bible is trying to tell us about Cain and Abel. And the fact, of course, that they are brothers is another little piece to put on top of that.
Yeah, because in most of the ones, they're either brothers or cousins. And of course, in real life, with the conflicts, there are also a degree of cousinism, if not, distant.
But I think what the Torah is saying is that we all are brothers and sisters. that we
But-
all are. We are all family. We are all
But
one
we are
family.
jealous and fight.
No, exactly. We don't know how to take the strength of a family, the incredible spiritual strength that a family provides us, and instead put it on its face. But that's just another lack of appreciation on the part of human beings. That's just all part of it. Let's keep going, if we may. Ulefize, okay, and according to this, halo yiheh tzarich lomar, according to that statement in Megillah, right, that we were saying that about if a person has a genealogy and nothing is said about it, about those people, and then all of a sudden the Torah tells you that one person of them was wicked, then all of them are. Okay, they're all are. Lachein, okay, tzarich lomar, one would have to say, degam avotav shel Korach, right? That we'd have to say, according to that principle, that Korach's fathers, right, his progenitors, machshiv bazeh hayu reshaim, from shechashiv bazeh, who are stated in this particular listing, were also wicked people, according to that principle. Lachein darish. Okay, and for this reason, Darish Kol Shemot, he, that is Reish Lakish, expounds on all these names, Ketoarim al Korach Lavad, they are simply there as descriptions of Korach alone, right? This supports my contention that the point that Baruch Halevi Epstein is making is that he's forced he wants to tell us these things to reassure us that Korach's ancestors or forebears were not wicked people, right? V'chein yeter hashemot shebapasuk zeh, and likewise the other names that are in this verse, kafi shiaveh od, okay, or yiva'er od. There might be a letter missing there, okay. That will be mentioned. So Korach's father wasn't wicked. Korach's grandfather wasn't wicked. Korach's great-grandfather wasn't wicked. The Darish Korach, and he explains the word Korach, Shenesa Korcha b'Yisrael, that through him a boldness happened in Israel. The Yesh Lomar, and to explain this, one can say, She Habiur, that the interpretation of this, the explanation of this, She Al Yado, that through him, through Korach, Ne'esa Korcha b'Yisrael, a boldness happened in Israel, Klomar, that is to say, Chesron Anashim Rabim, that is to say, a depletion of many people. In other words, many people were lost to the Israelites through his behavior. She'al yedei hamachloket, because by means of this mutiny, this dissension, nehergu yoter miyud dalet alafim ish, that more than 14,000 people died because of this. And I'm telling you, this is so relevant, because this is the kind of thing. I mean, you look at the American Civil War, for example, right? How costly it is. As will be explained in the next parsha, or sentence or interpretation. V'yein b'chidushay agadot, and he says, he gives you a reference. Chidushay agadot is a commentary at the back of the Talmud, where the author, whose name is escaping me, I think it's the Maharshal, Shlomo Luria, has some amazing interpretations on the Agadata.
I don't understand, Rabbi, I don't understand why 14,000 people died. Why are the Israelites so stiff-necked? I mean, why do they keep complaining?
Well, it's to try and teach us lessons, Harlan, about human nature, and how if we just follow our instincts, we're going to get into big trouble. The reason that we have a Torah is to help us work, to understand what of our instincts are helpful and what of our instincts are self-destructive. That's why we have a Torah, or why other religions have great works to help people live moral lives. People aren't going to live ethically naturally. They tend to be, we tend to have a very strong survivor instinct that can basically destroy others for our own benefit. At any rate, so this v'chein darish to'ar al Korach, and so he explains the attributes regarding Korach. Ben Yitzhar, Baruch Halevi Epstein is going to go now through some of these things, and I can I'm looking at the time, and we will not get through all of this, but I'm hoping, if we don't get through it today, we'll get through it tomorrow. It's worth looking at. Ben Shehirtiach Alav et Kol Haolam Kazoraim, right? He's quoting what it said. A son who heated on himself the entire world like noon. Upiresh bechidushe agadot. So, and in this chidushe agadot that he just referred to, he explains she'ish echad, that here one person hevi chama, or brought chema, the ketzef, he brought anger and it's the same word. Liktsof means to grow angry, right? If you want to find a synonym for that, right? Al Kol Yisrael, over over the entire people. One person managed to do that. Kamosha Katuv Lakaman, as is written below, He badlu mitoch ha'edah. God says at this point, he says to Moses, God says to Moses and Aaron, right? Separate yourselves from the community, and I will destroy all of them. Ad kan lashon. God says this to Moses and Aaron when the Israelites are clamoring against them. And so it's another situation where Moses has to appeal to God not to destroy the entire community. Again, we have to understand this from to look at the literary value of this, which is the point that it's trying to make, is just how destructive this stuff is, right? Avalo bi'er mahu lashon hatzoraim. But the Chidushei Adagot didn't clarify why the language tzoraim, like noon. Why does it say like noon? V'nir'eh al pi ma shekatuv b'midrashim, and it appears based on what is written in the Midrashim, Sof Perek Lech, at the end of Lech Lecha, right? At the end of Parsha Lech Lecha, which deals with Abraham, right? It's the very first Parsha dealing with Abraham and Sarah. Be'etzem Hayom Nimol Avraham. It says in the midst of the day, Abraham was circumcised. B'chatzi Hayom, meaning the half day, but Tzoraim, noon, right? Etzem Hayom, the essence of the day, right? That he was circumcised, which of course has to be noon, and that's what it's talking about. Vezeh, and why? Vezeh mipnei sheratza Avraham. And the reason for this is that Abraham wanted lefarsem davar hamilah. He wanted to divulge. He wanted to make known. A pirsomet is an advertisement. In other words, he wanted to, and there's this, we light the Hanukkah candles, pirsumei nisa, to divulge, to broadcast the fact that, that he was being circumcised. Uzman hatzoraim, and noontime, hu yoter mesugal lefirsum. It's the best time to make things known. Why? She'az kol b'nei hadam me'orim, because at that particular time, everyone's up. They might like to sleep late, but generally by noon, they're up, they're awake. Umei haChamah, and for this reason, Amru b'Shabbat Peitet Aleph, they mentioned in the tractate Shabbat 89a, Higbil Moshe Yisrael, that Moses, I said narrowed down. The word gvul means to border, but it really means that he did narrow down to the Israelites the time, Zman Kabbalat Torah, the time that the Torah would be received. So he specified, he narrowed down. It wasn't just any time, it was a specific time, Bevav Shaot, at the 6th hour, Hayom of the day, Dahainu B'Tzohorayim, that is to say, at noon. Mishum de Amrusham, as they said there on page, this is the Tractate Shabbat, page 86b, Al HaPasuk de Yeshayahu, regarding the verse from Isaiah, Mem Aleph 41, Lo Merosh Beseta Dibarti. He says, originally, I did not speak to you in secret, right? When I started to talk to you, I didn't talk to you in secret. This is God saying, right? Deka'e al netinat haTorah, which is referring to the giving of the Torah, shahaita bepirsum, that was in clear and evident to everyone. God did not speak secretly to the Jewish people. God gave them the Torah, and the beginning of his word to them, of course, was at that particular time. And for this reason, he established the time of noon, because that is the best time to let everyone know. The kan kavanat hadrasha, and in this particular case that we're reading about regarding Korach, the intention of this interpretation, shepirsem me'od dvar hamachloket, and that is that he got on social media and he made sure everyone knew about it. It got passed on, right? Ukedei letzayer godel hapirsum, and in order to describe the degree of how well known this became, right? Himshil al zeh etzman tzorayim. That's why he uses the metaphor of the time of noon. So I'm going to stop here and going to set a little arrow there, and hopefully we will continue this with God's help tomorrow.
Why don't we have noon prayers then?
Oh, that's a good. Okay. I can give you a relatively simple explanation, possibly. Okay. And I don't know that I'm really going to answer your question for you, but I think that, I think the reason is this, that noon is sort of the end of the morning. And the reason why our statutory prayers are 3 times a day, there are actually 2 reasons given, but one reason is that was the time for the Tamid of the morning, our morning service, the Amida of the morning service, which is the essence of the service, the silent devotion, corresponds to the Tamid of the morning, and the Mincha corresponds to the Tamid of the afternoon. And I think, it has to do, there are other reasons as well. It could be that people are busy at noon. There may be other reasons. It's a really good question, Judith. And I don't know that I have all the sufficient answers for you. I know that Mincha cannot begin until half an hour after noon. I'm wondering to myself, what's the best answer? Yeah, I have another answer, which is, would it give people the impression that we were sun worshipers? Would it imply in some way that we were worshiping the sun? And we don't want to do that.
Oh.
That just came to me. I may be wrong. That may not be the official reason, but it certainly makes some sense to me.
But then there's the problem of saying Shacharit at Netz haChamah, which might also give people the same impression.
Actually, you don't say Shacharit at Netz haChamah. I don't believe. Maybe you can. I know saying the Shema is then, or am I thinking of a different time? You can say morning.
Well, it's associated with the
Netz
sun.
haChamah means actually when the sun is up.
I thought it was when it just first appears, but anyway, it's
that would be sun up. You may be right. I'd have to look and double check. All right.
There's just one other thing I thought I had, which I'll just throw out there, which is the word yitzhar.
Mm-hmm.
Even before you think about Tzoharayim, the first thought that comes to my mind is the word yitzhar, which means olive oil harvest. Or the olive oil I'm not sure if it's olive oil or the harvest of the olive oil. It's something related to olive oil.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. Obviously, it's connected to shining, light, brightness, Toharayim.
Well,
I don't
because
know.
they used remember they used oil for light. It was a fuel they used
Right.
for
And the
light.
oil itself is
Yeah.
very shiny. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mhm.
But there's very positive, these are very positive words, and try to make a negative thing out of it feels
Only
a
in
little
connection, yeah, Sherebeth, only in connection with Korach. Soharaim in and of itself is not a negative thing. It's
Right.
just that the way Reish Lakish does is to,
Yeah.
to explain it in regards to Korach.
Although the heat, I mean, the original thing talked about the heat, the burning up, and he's talking about publicizing. I don't know, it doesn't all fit for me yet. I don't see how it all works
Well,
together.
he's saying that everyone's up by then. That's why it's a good time to let people know.
Right, but the original midrash that he's commenting on doesn't talk about that. It just talks about the heat and burning things.
Oh, yeah, he does talk about the heat of the day, but then he says, why dafka tzoharayim? Because there is some question, whether in fact it does get hotter, in fact, a little after the noon time. Although it does say, Abraham was, it does say in the heat at Kachom Hayom. So remember when he meets the strangers, the three strangers, it's Kachom Hayom. And, but there the interpretation is when the day heats up, which I think is a little bit before noon.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like a long chain to go from the name Yitzhar to burning up the world to midday to publicizing something. You know what I mean? It's not an easy, quick, obvious connection.
Yeah, I mean, lehartiach means to boil, right?
Yeah.
Riticha is to boil. Yeah, but I mean, the question here is that kol ha'olam, right? I think what he's doing is connecting kol ha'olam katzahorayim. And that's what Baruch Halevi Epstein is referring to, is why it's kol ha'olam. And that's true. I mean, the verse itself talks about noon being a very hot time of the day, but it says like noon, right? So I think he's just giving us an additional reason why dafka noon, why they said that. I mean, it could have stopped there. It could have just said, I think the difficulty is this. The commentary could have, he has to explain Yitzhar. So that's why he's got to get in the Tzoharayim here.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, some of the things are more convincing than others. This one
I hear
is
you. Okay. Yeah.
stretch. It's a stretch.
All right. Okay, I'm going to stop the share. And we need to get started. All right.
Thank you.
Of course, just interesting level of depth that he goes, and of course we've got a couple more names to analyze. So, all
See
right.
you on the 17th.
Yes. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Take care. Stopping the recording.